Residential sales comparison and income approaches, page 29. For most experienced appraisers, the inspection process often begins as they approach and arrive at the subject property. Location and physical neighborhood characteristics can be observed from that vantage point. Additionally, and probably most importantly, the appraiser can form a first impression of the overall appeal of the property. This can be important, especially in market value assignments, as typical buyers are usually influenced to a certain degree by the property's street appeal, also known as curb appeal, and their first impression of the property. During the property inspection, the appraiser will gather various types of information regarding the site and improvements. Some appraisers use checklists or other data collection methods that are available or have been specially devised. However it is collected, the appraiser should be certain the information gathered is thorough and adequate for use in future analysis and reporting. Even though some of this information may not be reported in certain reporting options, which is discussed in other courses, USPAP requires the appraiser's work file to contain the necessary elements to produce at least a summary appraisal report. An appraiser's work file is the documentation necessary to support the appraiser's analysis, opinions, and conclusions. The work file also shows compliance with USPAP. Therefore, it is certainly better to over-collect information rather than under-collect it. Specifically, listed on the following pages are some of the subject property characteristics that the appraiser may note during the inspection process. Of course, these may not be all-inclusive or applicable in every assignment. To make sure that all parties involved, clients and property owners, do not confuse an appraiser with a professional inspector, the appraiser should make clear the purpose of the inspection and refer to the process as an opportunity for data collection. The appraiser should be diligent in his information gathering regarding the subject because it will need to be thorough and adequate enough for use in future analysis and reporting. Comparable property possesses many of the same appeal factors, but the buyer for one property may not necessarily be interested in the comparable property. Competitive property, those that compete head to head. A potential buyer for one property would also be interested in the competitive property. Decline, the third stage a neighborhood goes through in its life cycle, when property values begin to fall and as demand falls. Deed, an instrument that conveys the grantor's interest in real property. District, the narrowest of definitions of a market area. A district is an area consisting of one particular land use, such as multifamily residential, commercial, industrial, etc. Functional utility, when a building has the adequate design and features to be used as intended. Gentrification, the process of rapid revitalization of properties in a neighborhood, which causes current residents to be displaced. Growth, the first stage a neighborhood goes through in its life cycle, when property values rise as development activity begins and continues. Market area, the broadest of all terms identifying the boundaries of a particular area. Market area takes into account the land uses and characteristics of typical market participants within the defined area. Neighborhood, any constant contiguous area that may be identified by similar characteristics of physical boundaries. Revitalization, The final stage a neighborhood goes through in its life cycle, when property values rise again as demand increases, resulting in increased renovation and rehabilitation. See gentrification. Stability. The second stage a neighborhood goes through in its life cycle, when the area is built up to the point where there is little, if any, vacant property, also called equilibrium. Work file. The documentation necessary to support the appraiser's analysis, opinions, and conclusions.